are not there in the soil anymore. They have been sterilized right out. That breaks the manure down and release the nitrogen from the manure. One of the indications of those nitrogen-based sterilizing chemicals in the soil, every so often you see leaves and so that are partly or that are completely purple.
Okay.
New Brunswick, the place to be for mass murderers and environmental criminals in training. Full support from government and RCMP protection guaranteed. Latest technologies and docile subjects readily available. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. It can be all proven. See here about the weeds? How much grass is left here?
Not much.
And, the weight got introduced here. Station that got mowed last year, and you see the puffballs, that's goat's beard.
Okay.
Then bed straw and whatever else you want to look for. See? Oh, come on. Look at the lung.
Yeah.
This was an animal that had been gassed a month earlier, and permanent damage done to the lung capacity down to a fraction. And then a month later, they gassed her the second time, and hemorrhaging of the lungs, bleaching out, and basically she didn't have any more capacity left. So I had to kill her. And when I butchered her, when I cut her open, that was the picture of the lung. And what is one of the biggest problems here? 4 of my neighbors, they died in their 50s of lung cancer. Chronic exposure to high levels of ozone, chronic inflammation of the lungs ultimately will lead to lung cancer. You medical profession, you better get off your butt and start doing real research and stop bullshitting the public about all the different reasons for their health problems. They want people to become more active. But what I found out, the more active you are, the more of this air with a high ozone concentration you pump through your lungs, and the more damage you get, from lung damage to massive heart attacks. And I'm going to show you that in a moment. No, which one? Just a moment. Little pin-sized hemorrhaging through the heart muscle. Here. Let's see, I got another picture that might show it even more marked. See, here's the damage to the heart over in this area, and the way the heart muscle is bleached out. This animal, from exposure to death, was about 12 hours. And that's what it did to the lungs. See here? The hemorrhaging. And the bleaching out. There's no more function left in that lung. And that happens to the causes exposure to this gas, causes massive hemorrhaging of the internal organs, which ultimately will lead to septicemia and death. As I say, this animal lived about for 12 hours after it had been gassed. Beaming, directional energy beam that basically cooked that little calf's nose. Oxidization of nitrogen and formation of ozone, which is lethal. But this doesn't seem to have filtered down now here to the medical profession. Last week I read from McMaster University in Hamilton. They did some studies a few years ago on dogs and exposure to ozone. For what do they have the coroners? I brought it to the attention of Jensen, Carl Jensen, the coroner, a few years back, and he said the next time I want to have a look at it. As I say, I'm not a human, I'm not a coroner, I'm just a farmer, and I wanted to find out what happened, what killed my animals. So I started doing autopsies, and I have hundreds of autopsies, photos where I documented it all. And it's time that the medical profession gets off their arse. But I guess they don't want to kill the goose that lays the golden eggs for them. It has been a cash cow for them. All the health problems of the people in the region. The health industry or the sickness industry is the biggest industry in the province, with the highest wages and incomes. And as I say, they don't want to kill the goose that lays the golden eggs. And it makes the government look good when they can squeeze the money out of the pockets of the taxpayers and to give it to those groups. And they can look good and say, oh, look what we do all for you. But as you know, an ounce of prevention is cheaper than a pound of cure. But with an ounce of prevention, they cannot make as much money. Right. So they're more interested in creating the trouble and letting the trouble go on, and then selling us their bogus cures. And now, where they want to start uranium mining in the province, then a province that has already the highest cancer rates in Canada, once everything is said and done, and once the environment is even more polluted with the mine tailings, which contain 85% of the radioactive material, and it from elements that are a lot more dangerous than uranium. then in the end they can blame it on uranium mining, the health problems and the cancers. So much for open, transparent and accountable government. See here what I'm talking about, directional energy beams? See that on the nose?
Yeah.
That's where they modify the atmospheric air. That's supposed to sustain life. That sustains life. Change oxygen into ozone and oxidize nitrogen, which in high concentrations are deadly, as I showed you on the previous photos there. And I have hundreds of autopsy photos to document this all. But I'm just a farmer. I don't have a PhD, so I don't count